There is a statue in Brussels that is nothing short of remarkable.
This Manneken Pis.
The Manneken Pis.
It's over the Manneken Pis.
2 feet tall, the Manneken Pis has survived wars, thefts, bombings, fire, and everyday hooligans. It's become a symbol of the people of Brussels, a tribute to their enduring spirit and sense of humor. Hi, I'm Claire, and in this video, we're going to learn about the Manneken Pis's disputed origin stories, its historical role throughout the centuries, and its many traditions and fabulous costumes today. First off, how did Manneken Pis get there? No one is exactly certain, but the first time it shows up is in an administrative document from the 1450s describing the pipework getting the city of Brussels water. The first time we get a look at the original fountain is 200 years later in this painting by Dennis van Alsluit of Brussels on the gang procession in 1615. Here in the upper left corner, we can see that Manneken Pis stood on a freestanding column, pouring water into a large stone basin. Fountains at the time played a crucial role in supplying cities with clean drinking water and served as public meeting places for anyone, even the very poor. Okay, but why make a statue of a kid taking a leak? There are quite a few legendary origin stories. One story says that Brussels was under siege and the attackers were planning to blow up the city walls. A little boy was spying on them as they were setting the explosives and peed on the burning fuse, saving the city. Another story says that a small boy went missing from his mother when she was shopping in the city center. Panicked, the mother instigated a citywide search which included the mayor for her son, who was found urinating on the corner of a street, and the statue was eventually erected as tribute. My favorite story, though, is of 2-year-old Duke Godfrey III of Leuven, whose troops were in a battle. The Duke's soldiers put him in a basket in a tree, overlooking the battlefield to boost their morale. I have so many questions. And just as the battle was about to be lost, the little Duke rose from his perch and peed all over at the enemy troops, who eventually lost the battle. Now that is most certainly a tale deserving of a statue. The Manneken Pis got its first facelift by sculptor Jérôme Duquesnoy the Elder. It was cast in bronze and installed around 1620 on a new column and basin made by stonecutter Daniel Rassens. In 1695, the French army bombarded Brussels during the 9 Years' War, and while the statue wasn't hurt, the pipes were damaged. At that point, the statue had become a symbol of the people of Brussels, and a pamphlet from that time states that Manneken Pis is now an object of glory, appreciated by all and renowned throughout the world. Pretty famous bathroom break, if you ask me. Over the subsequent centuries, the statue got a few more makeovers, eventually landing in a stone niche with protective railings that prevented access to the fountain's water. But by this time, the city of Brussels was making moves to distribute drinking water inside people's homes, so fountains pretty much just became decorative. In addition to its many makeovers, the statue's become victim to a number of thefts. In 1965, someone broke the statue off so only the feet and ankles remained. A year later, the Antwerp magazine De Post received an anonymous phone call that the statue was at the bottom of the Charleroi Canal. The magazine sent a team of divers in to find it, and when Manneken Pis returned to Belgium, it was placed on display in the Brussels City Museum for some much-needed R&R. The statue currently on display in the niche is an identical copy. I guess it really does take a village to raise a child. Today, that village has a name, the nonprofit Friends of Manneken Pis. The organization manages the thousands of Manneken Pis costumes there are, and oh my god, you guys, the costumes! If you're interested, the official Manneken Pis website has a template for proposing a new costume for the statue, but it has to be approved by the city of Brussels and Friends of Manneken Pis, so it better be good. On certain festivals like that of St. Verheyen, the statue is dressed in the appropriate costume and has, I believe, been hooked up to a keg of beer. Would I drink this? I don't know. I legitimately don't know. Like, it would be cool. But, like, it's beer coming from a statue. But also, if you're at that point where you would consider drinking beer from a statue, you're pretty far gone and like the alcohol's gonna be fine. You'll be fine. So the next time you're in Brussels, stop by the Manneken Pis. It's a short walk away from Le Grand Place, which is Brussels' main square, and is really cute. Imagine you're back in a time where fountains were the main source of your drinking water, and appreciate modern plumbing today. If you want to see a costume change, you can find the official monthly schedule on the Manneken Pis website. I visited the fountain in Brussels as a kid with my family, and the little statuette we brought back has been a family game night trophy ever since. And now that I know everything it's been through, it certainly deserves that honored status. Thank you so much for watching! If you're interested in learning more about how Brussels operates as a trilingual city, we have just the video for you on our YouTube channel, which we'll link to up here. And check out brighttrip.com to discover courses that help you travel smarter. Think your kids might get a giggle out of the statue? Bright Trip has a whole course on traveling with kids, and I would highly recommend it for all the practical tips and just the sheer cuteness of it all. I'll see you next time.